What's going on, team? Today we're going to be doing a technique analysis, but with a little bit of a difference. Reason being because a couple of things that we talk about in today's technique analysis, I want to explain to you in a little bit more detail. So we've got a bar, we've got plates, and we can go through it. So the athlete that we're going to be reviewing today is Julia Hannaford. Now you may remember a previous review that I've done of this athlete, and you would have heard me comment on her shoes. What are those? Because she has the most horrific footwear when she weightlifts, but it's a very, very good job that she's an absolutely incredible weightlifter. Julia's just won the latest weightlifting event at Wodapalooza. She did an epic 88.5 kilos hang snatch and then overhead squats as well. Absolutely killed it. I'm pretty sure she won this on the amount of repetitions that she did on the overhead squat, which was a tie-break part of this particular event. Now, I wanted to break down Julia's technique because it is exceptional and there's some lessons that we can learn and implement into our own Olympic weightlifting that's going to make us a hell of a lot better. Let's start off by having a look, first of all, at just start position. One of the things that I like to see when we're looking at start position is that we have a nice even balance between where the knees are in relation to the feet. We kind of want to make this square shape here when we're in the setup position. The reason being for this is that when we're in the setup position, if we set up the knees directly above the feet when we're initiating from the floor, this allows us to push through the legs in this first phase of the lift, okay? If the feet are too close and the knees are outside the feet, then the likelihood is the weight's gonna go to the outside edges of the feet. Now, although it'll help engage my glutes, generally what you'll see happen is if people do this through the middle, they'll tend to collapse, and this can affect extension. So having the feet evenly placed, knees above feet or above toes when we're initiating from the floor, and just thinking about spreading the floor allows us to stay engaged, but ultimately to keep the weight in the legs through the midfoot. And I guarantee as we progress through this analysis, what you'll see is really good positioning of the bar as it passes the knee. Let's just progress on. Bar passes the knee, you see again how lovely and close this bar is staying. The second thing that you'll see that Julia does really well in this first phase of the lift is keeps her upper body completely relaxed. I almost think like when I'm setting up or when I'm pulling from the floor that I want my arms just to be like string almost hanging here, and I'm thinking about leading with the chest. Julia does this really well, and you'll see, like I said, from that nice square setup position, flat feet are being kept all the way until she's passing the knees, which is really good to see. As we're transitioning past the knee here, you'll see that the bar is a little bit away from the body. I've got a couple of theories of why this happens. Does it result in a missed lift? No, but could we make some changes that would potentially help? Again, she opts for flat shoes when she Olympic lifts. This may be because she feels like she's getting pulled into her toes a little bit when she's lifting from the floor, or it may just be personal preference. But what you see is she actually stays on flat feet a little bit too long at this point. What we should be seeing at the point where the bar meets the sort of mid to upper thigh, we should start seeing a transition from weight coming from flat feet into the toe during extension. And this is what helps create nice vertical force. What we should be seeing as the bar is passing the knee at this point and we get to mid thigh or into our power position is we're squeezing the bum and rising up onto the toe at this point during the lift. And this causes the upright strike. But what we're seeing for Julia is she's staying on flat feet a little bit too long and she's getting caught in this position. Now what this can cause during extension is a little bit of movement of bar away from the body, which can result in it making it difficult for you to move underneath the bar into the catch. So again, let's kind of just run through this and see what happens. As we're getting now to waist height and we're coming through into extension, here you'll see that exactly that happens. Shoulders are way back behind the bar here as she's coming through into extension. And this causes, after she's struck here, shoulders to move back and back of the hands to start pointing up towards the sky in her snatch. That's an observation of mine, and I think it just goes to show more than anything that if we worked on this a little bit through the extension phase, actually striking up a little bit better and getting that transition into the toes for full extension, so she's striking up straight, she'd snatch over 100 kilos. She's definitely got the base level of strength for it. I've seen her squat before. She's extremely strong. She's definitely got the strength for it. That would help with more vertical extension. As we come into the receive position, what's quite interesting here is you'll see when she catches into her toes. This is less than ideal, obviously. Sometimes you will see, obviously, little technical faults creep in on heavier weights. I'm sure this is quite heavy weight for her. Generally, what I will see when people are catching in their toes is they've either used too much upper body to pull themselves underneath the bar into the receive position, or alternatively, you're maxing out in terms of ankle mobility. So when shoulders go back at the top of the lift, generally what will happen, so again, what we're talking about is at the top of this lift, we're going back, the hips will then stay through. Likelihood is as I transition underneath, this is happening here, which we're seeing for Julia. So my knees have shot really far forward in the bottom position in order for me to catch, and then she's coming back. Now what we're looking for in an ideal world when we strike up here in the lift is after we've hit extension, the hips actually move back slightly into the receive position so they head between the ankles rather than forward into this position. And that helps us to allow to land on flat feet. Something that I focus on in my warm-up, which will be very hard to do in barefoot shoes. I'm sorry to keep slagging the shoes, but what I would be focusing on is just working from the hang position here, feet land at the same time, the arms lock out, and you're aiming for this sort of feeling when we're going into the bottom position. This would help Julia, but nonetheless, she's so strong, she gets away with it. The wrist sits back into a lovely receiving position here. I love to see this external rotation in the receive because it helps engage the lats, which you can see is happening really nice, and it helps her keep her chest position up really well in this receive. Good mobility overall, great positioning, knee and toe, great external rotation, and more importantly, great wrist position, which really helps with lockout when we're in the overhead. The differences between these two positions, right? If I'm in my overhead position and my wrists stay stacked, you'll see straight away, my arms go into like a U shape here, whereas when I let the wrist sit back, you'll see I make a V shape. And this is really nice and solid then when I'm in my receiving position like so. And it makes it much easier for us to use the legs and maintain that lockout when we're standing up. So I guarantee this is why she's so good at overhead squats. As we progress through here, you'll see a little bit of a stumble forward. Let's watch the hang first before we start talking about the overhead squats. Great lowering. She does go for a hang just below the knee, which I presume was allowed. Definitely gonna be easier to gain a little bit more momentum if it's below the knee. But she actually keeps a much better position here when she's hanging from below the knee, because you can see how much closer this is staying through the middle, which allows her to strike it. That was so much better than her actual snatch. Evidently why she caught on flat feet and the position was good. Just to recap why that was better, the bar is now not doing what we saw it doing in the snatch. It's staying close, and you'll see how her shoulders are staying above the bar for longer here. This is why we need to get this happening in the snatch for her, because it's gonna create that much better vertical extension, and again, her catching flat feet. Reason why she does so well on these overhead squats is, like I said, it's to do with this position here, which she maintains really well, which results in her allowing to keep the chest upright, which is key if you want to be really good at overhead squats, because that then allows us to utilize the legs. The better tracking we can get of the knee over the toe in the bottom position, the easier it is to use the quads to stand up out the bottom position. When we're in the bottom position, right, of the overhead squat, if the knees are forward in this position, I can use the legs really easy to stand up at the bottom, where if my hips are back and my shins are very vertical, I'll tend to want to lead with my butt first, like a stripper position. This puts a lot of excessive pressure on the shoulder and will make you fatigue very quickly. That's always something that's important when you're doing multiple repetitions on overhead squat, is to make sure that the knees are forward, torso staying upright, so you can load the legs. Guys, like I said, we have a quick round through there of Julia's snatch. Some absolutely incredible lifts there for her. She won this event, absolutely amazing. Is she gonna continue to go on to lift loads more? Yes, 100%. Is her technique very good? Yes, it is. But there's a couple of things that, again, a little bit of tweaking that I think would make a massive difference. I'd love to rip those shoes off her as well and give her some weightlifting shoes, because I think that may be helpful too. But all in all seriousness, Julia, absolutely incredible weightlifting. Guys, if you enjoyed this review video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Let me know who else you'd like me to do a review of. And if you've got any questions about your own technique, need some help and support from an analysis standpoint, then don't forget just to head to the Lifting Zone website, where I do all my education, coaching, custom programming, one-off programs, one-off technique analysis, whatever it may be that you need to level up your Olympic lifting. Big love from me, guys. Take care.